School principal arrested for alleged abuse of a minor. Lutheren Church Youth together on climate change. And Justin Yoka sporting skills like a young Benji Marshall.
This is National EMTV News with Neville Choi.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. The PNG Tribal Foundation is calling on the national government to enforce the rule of law in regards to sorcery accusation-related violence, as well as enforcing existing laws and prosecute both perpetrators and instigators. Tribal delegates were recently in Geneva, Switzerland, where they presented to the United Nations the need for more attention and action for sorcery accusation-related violence as a human rights violation. The foundation says the work to end this form of violence needs the commitment of many, and Tribal has been working with national and international organizations in supporting internally displaced Papua New Guineans who are accused of sorcery and are unable to return to their customary land. Tribal is now calling on the help of the national government to enforce existing laws, provide resources to both government and civil society working in this space, and educate leaders, police, and the judiciary on existing laws. Tribal Foundation President Gary Bustin says SARV is everyone's problem, and falsely accusing someone of sorcery and then torturing them is unacceptable. The 7th Triennial Conference for the Papua New Guinea Council of Churches Christian Women will be hosted in Port Moresby from the 29th of April to the 2nd of May this year. The 4-day conference will be focusing on major social problems facing PNG. Michelle Stephen with this report.
PNG Christian Women's current membership consists of women from the Anglican Mothers Union, Catholic Mothers Association, Good News Lutheran Church Walk Mary, United Church Women's Fellowship of PNG, Baptist Women Organization, and Home League of Salvation Army. Its only associate member is the Young Women Christian Association, or YWCA. President Emma Sebea says they are planning to create an avenue to learn and explore, at the same time understand issues that are affecting children.
Our focus for this conference will be held on child protection to support national government's legislation and policies to address some of these social issues that often endanger the lives of our children. Drug and alcohol abuse, GBV, sorcery-related violence against children, sexual abuse where children are involved, orphans whose parents died due to HIV, and many more.
The purpose of the conference is to create awareness on social issues. PNG-CCW is working towards establishing partnerships with other churches, NGOs, and the government on these issues. Conference team leader Frida Taimbari says through this conference they hope the participants will be aware of issues affecting children and women.
As part of our awareness, create awareness among our women's group, to know these issues before we can be able to, proceed to tackle this issue in the communities. So again, it comes back to the purpose of the conference and all this. Organizations that are already, or stakeholders who are already working in the communities, we want to assist them, we want to support them, we want to be partners with them on how best we can deal with these issues in the community.
Besides the main focus, the two other important areas where PNG-CCW will be looking at are to review the national guideline and have a general election of the new office bearers. As this conference will cater for the provincial ecumenical delegates, they are requesting that each province submit the names of its ecumenical rep to phone number 7189-7475 or email to pngcc.christianwomen@gmail.com. Michelle Stephen, National EMTV News.
Senior public servant and the former secretary for the Department of Justice and Attorney General, late Dr. Lawrence Cullenoi, was farewelled yesterday in Port Moresby. The funeral service saw members of the law and justice sector with senior departmental heads all attending to pay their last respects. Dr. Lawrence Cullenoi from Avativ village in the Abunti Drekike district of East Sepik province held 2 masters and a doctorate and has served in many senior positions in the country. He was involved in law reforms in addressing family and sexual violence and was instrumental in formulating questions for the Bougainville referendum. He passed away on the 6th of March at Modelon General Hospital in Medang while attending the National Lands Summit. He was laid to rest yesterday afternoon at the 9 Mile Cemetery outside Port Moresby. Late Dr. Kalanoy is survived by his wife and 3 children. More than 3,000 youth from the Lutheren Church will gather on Lababia Island in September to discuss climate change and other issues affecting their communities. The biennial meeting brings together young men and women from all over the country. Climate change has been an ongoing topic of discussion.
In the last 15 years, the Lutheren Church has been vocal on environmental issues, and this is because climate change and large-scale developments that cause environmental damage have directly affected their communities. In September, more than 3,000 youth will gather on Lababia Island off the Huon coast to discuss climate change and other issues. It'll probably be the biggest youth gathering in Papua New Guinea this year.
So something once upon a time come up good place, grow good na. You make some good kai na display because of climate change now not good some outcome long some kai na display na. Plenty all move come to town thinking that they'll find easy life, rise na tin piece na display and they came here ended up being unemployed na.
In Medang, Lutheren youth on Karkar Island have been at the forefront of a campaign against Nautilus, the company that wants to mine Papua New Guinea's seabed using experimental mining methods. The youth conference on Lababia will draw on experiences of the past 2 decades to chart a way forward.
Development issue will come up na some plenty asking, plenty thinking, plenty challenge work so people like discussing to display.
The Lutheren Church officially announced the start of fundraising for the gathering in September. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Ley.
The Electoral Commission announced today that the LOG ballot papers have arrived in the country. 5 million ballot papers printed by MH Supplies were delivered to PNG Electoral Commission headquarters in Port Moresby. Electoral Commissioner Petelius Kamato, who was on site to receive the ballot papers, was delighted that the supplier delivered the ballot papers 1 month prior to the issue of writs on the 25th of April. The ballot papers were printed at the cost of 5.5 million kina by CP Stationery in Penang Province in Malaysia, whose PNG partner is MH Supplies. Their bid was approved by Central Supplies and Tenders Board ahead of 4 other bidders. The 2019 LLG elections ballot papers have 8 different security features, which make it difficult or impossible to duplicate. To our top story tonight, Lay police have arrested and charged a school principal for alleged sexual penetration on a minor. The victim is a student attending a private-run school owned by the suspect. The child informed the parents, who then immediately reported it to police.
According to the police report, the victim is a 10-year-old girl and student attending a private school located in a residential area at Papuan Compound in Ley. The victim was told to go into the house by the suspect, where the school's photocopier is kept. She was ordered to close her eyes and lie on the bed while the man in his 40s or 50s assaulted her in his room.
It's mainly the allegations of abuse of trust. The child is a relative to the suspect. She would call him as a grandparent, from the extended family on the wife's side.
The man was arrested and charged by the Sexual Offence Squad police in Ley last week. He appeared for the first mention on Monday this week. The officer in charge of Sexual Offence Squad in Ley, Sergeant Mary Wata, said the number of abuse cases has increased since 2017. Wata said they deal with 4 to 5 cases of sexual offences in a week. Most cases are not reported.
Most victims are children under the age of 16 that are coming to this office.
The Ley Metropolitan Superintendent Commander Anthony Wagambi Jr. condemned acts of abuse of trust upon young children.
Investigation is continuing. The medical reports have been, medical report has been obtained from the medical examination, and that will be submitted in the court file to be taken to court.
Mr. Wagambi has called on parents to be cautious of who they entrust their children to. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
And Nawab MP Kennedy Wenge has condemned the rape of the 10-year-old girl who attends the private school in Leh. The girl was allegedly raped by the school's director on the school premises. Mr. Wenge also aired his concern on the rise of private schools, questioning the quality of care and education. Mr. Wenge said the only recognized schools should be government or mission-run. You're with Wednesday's News. We have more of today's other stories when we come back from this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. People living at the Gordon's National Housing Commission flats in Port Moresby were told to vacate their residential area early this morning. They were approached by members of the police force who told them to vacate the place they have been living for many years. Speaking to EMTV News, the residents said the area was sold to a developer in 2008 and they have been going to the courts for over a decade. They said the case was dismissed by the courts last week and they were given 40 days to appeal. However, by this morning, the developer, with help from the police, went into the area to evict the residents. They claimed that there was no formal eviction notice served. However, they only received a verbal notice from the police in the morning. The residents have now gone to the national courts to seek appeal on this case. Air New Guinea has announced a new program that will be carried out in the company to improve its performance. Called Higher Altitude, the program looks at 4 main areas: cost control, revenue opportunities, people and customer, and operational excellence. Managing Director Alan Millen said the company will relook at costs, how every toya is spent, as well as the revenue opportunities they have, and what can be done to retain and improve Air New Guinea market shares, ancillary revenue, and others. Mr. Millen also said that they will be changing the fleet with the delivery of 4 brand new Boeing 737 MAX aircraft in 2020 and 2021, and the decision to eventually replace Boeing 767s, Fokker jets, and Dash 8 turboprop aircraft. The launch of the program comes after the company is reported to have made 45 million kina in losses in 2018. Pacific Horticultural and Agricultural Market Access, or FARMA, an export development program, is tapping into local products with the aim of creating and project jobs. The increase in rural livelihoods was expected in Papua New Guinea. On Monday, FARMA makes its presence known by certifying the Tropic Fonds Oil, a local manufacturer based in Karavat, East New Britain Province. The local manufacturer of cosmetic and beauty supplies was given the Hazard Analysis Critical Control Port, or HACCP, a minimum requirement to sell both locally and internationally.
Papua New Guinea's potential to export to international markets is one that hasn't been realized over the years. Until recently, the Pacific Horticulture and Agriculture Market Access, or FARMA, an economic-oriented program, tries to create more exposures for local manufacturers to sell their products both locally and internationally. The Tropic Fonds, a manufacturer of cosmetics and beauty products, is one of the local producers amongst many others that have gained a formal recognition to sell overseas.
The factory itself was accredited about a year ago, so they got a HACCP certificate. HACCP stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. So when you're trying to export food, any food that is the minimum international requirement you must meet.
The manufacturer, located at Karavat in the East New Britain Province, has been in operation for the past 24 years. Since 2018, the company has exported its products overseas with assistance from FARMA.
The trends are all good and that's what counts. We're currently negotiating with the possibility of a distribution into Japan.
It's a move that hasn't been done to local manufacturers before. FARMA is an Australian government export development program co-funded by the New Zealand government. The program wants to provide strategic directions that best align with locally manufactured products and to open new doors for them to sell. FARMA is also working with various other smallholder producers to help them meet expectations and standards for international markets. Other agriculture-based organizations like Coconut Industry Corporation, or KIC, Nakia and Nari are also partnering with the program to expose local producers.
For KK, once these people are accredited, it means that more exports are coming. Quality stuff. to go right around the world. They will be qualified to export right around the world.
The move taken by Pharma is one that is helping small local manufacturers slowly but surely. In the coming years, Pharma hopes to tap into the unrecognized markets that has the potentials to sell and to give them a boost so that their products are not only sold locally but internationally. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
Various sections of East New Britain's North Coast Road are deteriorating steadily, making it impassable during bad weather. The road, which runs along the North Coast area, connects the semi-urban township of Karavat and the town of Rabaul. In the 1990s, the infrastructure used to be used as an escape route by people living in and around Rabaul to escape from any volcanic disaster. Today, it is an infrastructure that is falling apart. Commuters who use the route say it has been more than several years with no major repair work done on this infrastructure, and they want the road to be immediately repaired. The Sipik River Crocodile Festival will be held in August at Ambunti Station in the Upper Sipik River region. To boost preparations, the PNG tourism sector has funded the festival with 100,000 kina. Tourism Arts and Culture Minister Emil Tamur says although many tourists attend this festival, accommodation has been a major issue.
The annual Sipik River Crocodile and Arts Festival has received a great boost in preparation for the event. PNG Tourism Promotion Authority and the Tourism Arts and Culture Ministry gave 100,000 kina to help with infrastructure and proper facilities for the festival.
There was a large number of tourists in attendance last year, but I felt the festival grounds lacked proper facilities for tourists and other visitors to rest or sit in comfort and observe the festival.
Established in 2007, this event is a 3-day cultural celebration that highlights the crocodile and its cultural significance to the communities living along the Sipik River.
The crocodile has for centuries remained an integral part of the lives of Sipik River people through the many ancient and sacred rituals, be it for marriages, deaths, birth of a newborn child, seasonal harvest, feast, or sacrification of young men to manhood.
While officiating the presentation, Minister Tamur said the numbers of tourists have increased over the years. However, places to stay are very limited.
TPA and my ministry cannot really aggressively market the festival at this stage, as I believe there are about only 60 proper lodge type beds for accommodation tourists which are there in the area.
It is Minister Tamur's hope that the relevant authorities, both at the national and provincial levels, can assist local SMEs to build more suitable accommodation so TPA can aggressively market and increase tourism numbers to the festival and the wider Sipik region. Lilian Sopera Kenea, National MTV News.
This year marks the 4th year of operations for the PNG Fashion and Design Week Limited since 2016. Over the last 3 years, the organization has achieved much of its objectives set in its annual plans and programs. This week, under the banner of the PNG Fashion Festival 2019, the main focus is on making fashion inclusive and accessible to all. Michelle Stephen with more.
PNG Fashion and Design Week Limited is a 100% nationally owned fashion events company providing innovative platforms to support the ongoing growth and sustainable development of the fashion sector in Papua New Guinea. The organization looks at providing networks for its partners to develop and manage their products, extend market research, generate business growth, and promote greater community participation.
The part of the platform that we like to do is tell our people that no can sit down nothing, you see all like design or mask or whatever, something like clean you see now na go kisim like maniblo family. That's the main thing that we are trying to push in this platform.
CEO says since the organization started, she has been writing proposals to politicians and NGOs to fund their projects. She stressed on saying PNG Fashion and Design Week Limited has a very long way to go before Papua New Guinea products are exported overseas.
Let's work together. Let's eliminate the negativity in the industry. Let's work together. Let's push this industry seriously into the next level, because we are not even manufacturing yet. We are not. Our designers need to finish their products properly to be internationally bought by visitors. So we've got a long way.
The Australian government came on board this year as a major partner with the organization to deliver its programs. Keynote speaker of the event, Caitlin Wilson, said people should start taking arts and culture more seriously because it represents who they are.
This is a traditional Indigenous design, which is now a way of traditional painters and designers to make money through a very practical and new way of selling their art. So again, there are some good examples when it's harnessed in the right way and where it benefits back to the artists.
Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Emil Tamur, who attended the event, said in order for PNG to bring tourism into the country, fashion designers and artists have to go back to the village and teach local people basic skills and techniques.
Our women folk can equally participate in terms of economic development and sustainability, including our people living with disability. This is one of the areas which we need to bring them out from where they are in the small nuts and shells right now within our communities. And I think modeling and designing is one of the ways.
Michelle Stephen, National EMTV News.
The Ora Provincial Government presented its 2019 provincial budget to Treasurer Charles Abel today. Despite being one of the last provinces to submit their budgets for this year, Governor Gary Juffa says the provincial government had to get things right so that funds go to the right place. Juffa says their 2019 budget will focus on tourism and agriculture, amongst other areas.
Oro Governor Gary Juffa with the open members for Ijivitari and Sohe and the administration team presented the province's 2019 budget to Treasurer Charles Abel. While the province has been facing capacity and leadership issues recently, Governor Juffa says development and strategic plans for the province are in place and all they have been waiting for is to present the budget.
Ora is a safer place now to do business and for people to live. We're willing to attract investors in there that can help us. Agriculture, tourism, and those are the main areas that we're looking at. But the budget will focus on, carrying on with the work from the previous term, which is to overhaul the entire machinery of government in the province and seeing how it can better serve the people of Oro.
During the presentation, Juffa raised an issue to Treasurer Charles Abel regarding the shares of the oil palm industry in Oro.
The concerns that we had as a province, you raised the issue of oil palm, and you know this, is the shares that were promised to the provincial government in the last term. They were promised by the IPBC Minister, Prime Minister on numerous occasions. I think NEC decisions were passed. Those shares were then sold and the proceeds were, we were never told what happened to those proceeds.
I note the shares issue. I've said many times, and in fact our governor is always harassing Duma about, we had shares in Milne Bay Estates, but of course those shares were held in a general property trust under IPBC, which now became Kumul Consolidated Holdings. There was a buyout by Sime Darby. It was a compulsory acquisition. Those shares were sold, and the general property trust never redeemed or paid out those shares back to the respective oil palm provinces. It's an old issue, and we keep talking about it.
Governor Juffa further emphasized that this year's provincial budget will also look at addressing health and education issues in the province.
I think the major issues are reviewing our health, education, and the infrastructure that's currently in place, what we really need to do to bring it up to an acceptable standard. We will be looking at administration overhaul, and I'm pleased to say the acting administrator and his team have put together a restructure plan. This is long overdue. Our province has a staff level of 536. We only have 187 positions, so you can understand that this has been since 2000. So previous administrators, previous governors, previous members have just not paid attention to this very important aspect of development, which is the vehicle that's going to develop the province, and that is the public service machine.
Patricia Chiamo, National EMTV News.
You're with National EMTV News. Stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, and Cyclone Idai, that's ravaging parts of southern Africa, is now thought to be the worst weather-related disaster to ever hit the southern hemisphere. As feared, more than 1,000 people could have died in the hardest-hit country of Mozambique. The storm ripped through Beira before making its way to Zimbabwe and Malawi.
Beira, a city of more than 500,000 people, lashed by Cyclone Idai and struggling with its aftermath. The Red Cross says almost 90% of the buildings here have been affected. The storm took out power and communications. The UN fears this could be the worst weather-related disaster ever to hit the southern hemisphere. So many of those who had little before have almost nothing now. I was sleeping at home, said Layla George, when suddenly the roof flew away. I called for help. We were screaming, but no one came. And while the worst of the wind has passed, it is still raining and there's more on the way. The danger isn't over.
The biggest threat we have now, even bigger than a cyclone, is floods. Because it's raining more and more, the water levels are rising.
As the cyclone swept through Mozambique, a vast area of farmland was inundated. The maize crop was ready for harvest, and much has now been lost. That could mean there are food shortages for the rest of the year. In Zimbabwe, too, major river crossings have been swept away. Moving aid through this region is a serious challenge, with so much of the road network now impassable. Some food has been getting through, but supplies are quickly exhausted, such as the scale of the demand. Those washed out of their homes are moving to higher ground. The injured find treatment wherever they can, and their stories are heartbreaking.
I still haven't found where my daughter was buried in the debris. There is no furniture, no clothes, only rubble and stones.
My mother, my father, my 2 young sisters, one of whom had just had a child, they are all dead.
My house was destroyed in the floods and I was buried underneath. My daughter was with me in bed and was washed away from me.
No one yet knows how many are dead. In Zimbabwe's Chimanimani, they can barely keep up with the number of burials required. With more than 1.5 million people in the cyclone's path across the region, it's feared there will be many more bodies to find.
And the royal support has been personally expressed in London. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, recent visit to New Zealand shores, offered condolences at New Zealand House in London.
Armed with bouquets, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex arrived at New Zealand House and added to the growing pile of floral tributes. They paused and reflected before, hand in hand, going inside to write a personal message. The Duchess writing, "Our deepest condolence, we are with you." Her husband then signed his name, adding "Aroha Nui." They expressed their own shock to High Commission staff. Prince Harry praising Jacinda Ardern's response. His wife wearing earrings Jacinda Ardern gave her.
Having just been out to New Zealand, having just
been associated with New Zealanders. I think it's important for them to be able to come and pay their respects and to share with us their condolences.
They just showed a lot of compassion. I think that you could just tell they're very genuine about the whole devastating situation that's gone on in Christchurch.
There's been a huge outpouring of international support for the people of Christchurch, and you can see that just from looking at these bouquets here. This one was sent from diplomats from Pakistan, this one was sent from people in Edinburgh, and of course these two here from the Royals themselves. People here want New Zealand to know that they're standing with them in solidarity, but also that they're very impressed with how they're handling the response.
We especially appreciate the role that has been played by your Prime Minister. It is really laudable the way she has actually consoled and embraced the people over there who had suffered.
The compassion, the dignity, the respect, the kindness of the response. I think that response has touched a very good nerve in other parts of the world.
Homesick Kiwis finding solace at home base.
I've been really upset seeing it on the news, so I wanted to come and pay my respects because obviously at New Zealand House is the only way that we can.
The overarching message from half a world away is that New Zealand is not alone in its grief.
And even the country's gangs are offering to help out after the deadly shootings, a sign of just how deep the attacks are affecting all levels in New Zealand society. Numerous patched members have visited the boss to pay tribute. Now the Waikato mongrel mob is offering help.
New Zealand's biggest gang has pledged to protect this Hamilton House of Prayer. Mongrel mob members have offered to stand guard outside on Friday. That could mean they'll be side by side with armed police. An extraordinary sight, but these are extraordinary times.
What's it all about? Is it about the brown skin? Who knows? You know, we are all vulnerable. That's the scary part of it all. You know, so at times like this, we need to come together.
Muslims here welcome the offer, but countered with their own. Come inside and join them in prayer, patched or not.
I appreciate their gesture of support, and what I have requested them, that if they are in a number of 5 or 7, they can be actually inside the mosque. But if there's a huge number, then I've suggested that there's a park opposite to the mosque, they can be there. But we appreciate that gesture.
Since Friday's attacks, gangs of various patches and persuasions have shown their support for Muslims. Haka, Hugs and Hongi. A sociologist who's written widely on gangs says it shows how deeply the attacks have cut across New Zealand society.
This is absolutely unprecedented. In the last days since this attack, we've had Black Power, Mongrel Mob, Hells Angels, Tribesmen, King Cobras all come out in support of the victims of this crime. That's never happened in New Zealand before.
Police wouldn't be drawn on whether gangs guarding mosques is problematic, only to say they appreciate how people across New Zealand are showing their support.
You're watching Wednesday's news. We got Trukai Sports coming your way next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. SPPNG Hunters coach Michael Marum has put his trust in a young man who has come straight from the local league in Pangia, Southern Islands. The young player, Justin Yoka, is confident he can deliver a good game in the 5/8 position.
Little-known 21-year-old Justin Yoka is set to don the 5/8 jersey for the SPPNG Hunters this weekend, making him Hunter number 73. He was described by Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League chairman Sandy Saka as portraying a game style similar to that of a young Benji Marshall. The young man was scouted during the Confederate Championships, playing for the Highlands Zone.
He's been training well all throughout past 15 weeks, so probably a bit early, so throw him in there and see how he can handle it. Yeah, he's a local boy, he's from Pangia, Rugby League, so all the way down here. playing big, intra super. So, we want to make sure he just goes out there and plays his game. Yeah, but he's got big potential. He's a bit quiet, but he does his job. He can control the game. His kicking game is good. So that's why we went with him.
The soft-spoken man from Yungili in Pangia plays for the Western Yambi Tarangau team and an avid follower of the Hunters. He didn't think this opportunity would come this early. Most players in the Hunters transit from the intercity competition to the club, but he is part of a few that are here straight from the local leagues.
We play now, some watch now, some of them meeting some. I'm good to more now. Some like intending some animal in some place. I'm coming inside now. Start on the old big lab boys and pilam mas now. Mr. Borre and Damal.
He has the backing from Coach Michael Marum, and his confidence has been boosted. Putting in maximum effort in training, now all he has to do is prove he can deliver.
Coach trust me now. I'm trying to get our laps go, but some new man come inside and trust him. So this weekend I'm going to best. Some the more calls have been given them to you. When it's like calls now, making let them game go some right now.
Fileli Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
A Sevens Rugby Union tournament is set for the Easter weekend, with a total of 40 teams showing interest to attend the second annual Sports Talk Sevens to be held at the Bava Park Rugby Union Oval on the 19th to the 21st of April.
Sports Talk magazine has put forward 40,000 kina in prize money for the second annual Sports Talk Sevens to be held on the Easter weekend from the 19th to the 21st of April.
Acknowledge PNG Rugby Union through Capital Rugby Union for giving us the opportunity to stage these Sports Talk Sevens for the second year.
Benson Upas, manager of Sports Talk magazine, is using the tournament to promote his magazine and to provide a tournament to showcase some of PNG's Rugby Union Sevens talent.
We're doing this to provide more opportunity for young rugby talents. As you all know, that rugby has played in many countries. Is probably the most played sports besides soccer. And our sister country in the Pacific, Fiji, has done extremely well by exporting players, providing good opportunity for the players.
Teams across the country and in the nation's capital have shown interest.
12 provincial teams from outside Port Moresby. We've got the Goroko Harlequins that were here for the Rookie Sevens. They'll be coming down. They are really looking forward to this, to step up from their last appearance here. We've got a team from Medellin. Buivex also shown interest to send in a team. Rabaul Stallions, one of the top teams in the NGI region, has indicated their participation as well.
There is a men's division, a women's division, and an under-18 division.
There will be 3 divisions played for: the open men's, open women's, and the under-18s. We still have space available for the girls. If we do have some schools, which we will be, we've indicated to them that we'd like them to, put in teams. At this stage, we're still talking to the schools.
Paul Joseph, the tournament director, is encouraging teams to pay up registration before the deadline on the 29th of March. Fileli Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
The PNG boxing team for the Pacific Games began their training camp on Monday. Many new faces have joined the camp, and all of them are hoping to secure a spot in the team.
The PNG boxing team was outstanding in the 2015 Pacific Games here in Port Moresby. They bagged 6 gold medals and 2 silver and were ranked number 1 in the Pacific. They will be hoping to maintain their status as number 1, but it will be difficult. Thaddeus Katua, Jonathan Keama, Charlie Keama and Rafael Akare are the only 4 boxers that remain from the 2015 squad. The rest are new.
We have only 132 days left now to go to Samoa, so for these 130 days we'll be still training, yes.
Preparations have begun with the boxers training under the guidance of Coach Marketo and Joe Alpha. Though it is a fairly new team, they are confident the team will perform in Samoa.
We're looking forward to this coming Samoa games. We have a good, strong team, and we want to defend our title as the champion in the Pacific.
Unlike the previous Pacific Games team, this year's squad is struggling with funding. They have plans to visit the Philippines for further training, but lack funding.
Depends on the funds. If we can be able to secure sponsorship, we want to go to Manila because we've done very well. The last Pacific Games, our boys trained in Philippines, and they came back and we won the tournament. Most of the Pacific countries are now in China, training in China. And we appeal to business houses to support boxing and help us. We'd like to go back to Philippines where our boys will be training, and there's a lot of sparring partners in Philippines.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
The Kamapin Boxing Mary Association donated equipment to female boxers in the train-on squad. Kamapin Boxing Mary was started last year and has been encouraging many women in PNG to join the code.
Kamapin Boxing Mary Association was started by sisters Debbie Kaure and Rafaela Kaure. The Kaure sisters have been instrumental in promoting boxing in their area. They founded the KBM Association to encourage many women to take part in the sport of boxing.
We're trying to make a pathway for young talent boxers, girls outside at, from settlements. And
they held a training workshop in December last year where more than 50 women attended. They've struggled to find another venue to host more workshops and training.
And that clinic brought us to had a lot of interest of girls. At the moment we had no venue, so we kind of stopped. We haven't planned to run another clinic again.
Today they donated some boxing equipment to female boxers in the current train-on squad for the Pacific Games.
To help donate the gloves to the girls to help them to have that motivation and encourage them to make the team. So in that way they can have new pair of gloves and shirts and shorts, trunk shorts to at least to have that feel of how it's like to make the national team.
4 female boxers are in the train-on squad, with only 2 to represent PNG at the 2019 Pacific Games in Samoa. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues with more after the break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. A good number of changes have been made to get the SPPNG Hunters back into the winner's circle and get some points on the board after 2 losses without even scoring a point. Coach Michael Marum is confident this team will deliver.
With 2 losses on the trot for the SPPNG Hunters, the coach Michael Marum has done a few changes to the team that will take on Sunshine Coast Falcons this weekend at home at the Osage National Football Stadium at 3 p.m. Justin Yoka debuts at 5'8", Wawa Paul makes a return to the wing, Blenda Bavo moves to fullback with Joe Joshua starting in the centres. While Charlie Simon starts at hooker, Junior Rob moves to the second row with Stanton Albert to start at lock. Stanton Albert has come into the starting lineup at lock, and Michael Marum is confident his experience will bolster their forwards. The team blend Abavu at fullback, Junior Rao and Wawa Paul on the wings, Joe Joshua and Captain Adex Wera in the centres. In the halves are Justin Yoka at 5'8", and William Mone at halfback. Moses Meninga and Enoch Maki are the props, Charlie Simon at hooker, Mackenzie Ye and Junior Rob are in the second row, with Stanton Albert locking the scrum. On the extended bench are Nick Hasu Oliver, Butler Morris, Dilbert Isaac, Daniel Taphol, Brendan Nima, Joe Frank and Kevin Apo. 3 will be omitted. Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
And rugby support continues in New Zealand with the Springboks captain now in the country and offering his condolences. Sia Kolisi and his Super Rugby team have arrived in New Zealand for 2 matches.
Barely off the plane from Cape Town and training in Auckland, the Stormers and their captain are still dismayed by the events of last Friday and the aftermath.
When we were shocked when we heard that, this is the safest country we've been to.
Sia Khaleesi's been travelling and playing here for nearly a decade, along with other members of his Stormers team like fellow Springbok star Eben Etzebeth. One of Etzebeth's locking partners has just been brought into their squad, South African under-20 captain Salman Murat, touted as a future Boks skipper from a famous Western Province rugby-playing family, and a proud Muslim.
One of the senior guys in our team, I was worried about it. But we'll be with him at all times, so we're sure we'll be safe. I know the people in New Zealand will look after us.
The Stormers have a strong affinity with New Zealand. Their assistant coach is former Auckland coach Paul Feeney, who just happened to be home last week for the wedding of close mate, New Wales coach Wayne Pivac.
They're very caring, very respectful, in South Africa, and all their thoughts have been with us.
It's rare. I don't think that it will happen again, because I know how safe it is here and how New Zealand prides themselves on their safety.
The Stormers play the Hurricanes this Saturday in Wellington, then the Blues next week. Their trip to New Zealand this time round has a very different feel.
And that story in Strukai Sports. The weather details for the next 24 hours when we come back. Stay tuned.
Strukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And a quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Showers in Port Moresby, thundery showers for Daru, and showers expected in Kerema, Alatau, and Popaneta.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the way it is for the news this Wednesday, the 20th of March 2019. From the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.